Time to party, everyone. It's Deep Dive Zone, a Sonic review series for fans of all shapes and sizes. I'm your host, Devin, joined as always by Lauren and Bruce. And guys, we are trapped on the Game Boy Advance.
Normally, I'd be okay with that because I love the GBA.
GBA is pretty rad system, I must say.
It really is, but unfortunately, these are not the best examples of the GBA's goodness.
Well, when you have a big library, these things happen.
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of stinkers. Granted, the GBA does have a lot of stinkers, but we're not looking at anything better.
We're looking at one particular. I hesitate to even say stinker. We're looking at Sonic Pinball Party, a game
I guess it's not that bad.
that nobody asked for and that we still don't really need. But I felt like I had to cover it.
Well, you have to be completionist. And this game is also nostalgic in a way, because aforementioned, I got this in a combo pack with Sonic Advance 1. So I do have memories that go back with this game. It was interesting to revisit, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, it exists all right. I remember being like, oh, it's a Sonic game, Sonic Advance, hell yeah. And then, what's this other thing? This other side mode. And then you get greeted on the menu with just this little present that explodes into a bunch of characters I didn't recognize. And I was like, huh?
Yeah, this
And
game is kind of, it's Sonic Pinball Party. It's almost more like SEGA Pinball Party because you get Sonic, you get Knights, you get Samba de Amigo. I think there's a little bit of Choo Choo Rocket in here.
yeah, and Burning Rangers and Fantasy Star.
Oh, I didn't even notice those.
It's just a little fun graphic. It's not.
Yeah.
This game does have a plot, but it's not plot relevant.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm gonna go ahead and say I don't think this one is canon.
No, it's all
Oh
canon.
yeah, I have notes that would mean it can't be canon unless the Sonic canon is psychotic,
Well, so
I
okay.
mean, is it not psychotic?
more psychotic.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Well, so I mean, okay, Knights can and possibly does exist in the Sonic world because it's the
Right.
Dream World. It could be anywhere.
Exactly.
I don't know if Samba de Amigo even has a story.
Well, if Knights can exist anywhere, then technically Knights is the connecting factor for all of these.
Yeah, maybe this entire game is a dream.
Some
Maybe.
weird fever dream that for some reason it has pinball.
I think Burning Rangers is set in its own sci-fi world, and I know Phantasy Star is. I don't know shit about Phantasy Star, I'm gonna be honest.
I only know like the bare minimum.
But anyway, yes, this game is pinball.
Unfortunately.
I mean, I'm not a fan of pinball at all, but it's a game that exists, and other people can play it if they'd like to. So I suppose making a pinball themed. Wait a minute, they already did that. Why'd they do it again?
Well, this is
Yeah.
the thing, is that, like, I'm not a pinball fan either. It seems like, in terms of pinball games, this is a perfectly serviceable one. I just don't like pinball. But it is weird that, like, I like Sonic Spinball better than this. Because at least that game is trying something.
I mean, maybe it's also because I really hated that game also, but actually I can't say I hated Spinball. I didn't like Spinball enough.
I don't like
So,
Spinball. I
I
just think
already
that...
disliked this. I was already coming in extremely biased against this game.
I just think that game was willing to be its own thing to some extent, and that
Well, the
was
game had the
appreciated.
benefit of also having the mild SAT AM connection. I
I
think
mean,
it's SAT AM.
yeah, it is Sad AM, but I mean, like, inconsequentially, Sad AM is as important to that plot as, like, the
True.
cameos are to this plot.
True. That's a
Listen,
good point. All
Can we
right.
can we jump into the plot here?
Yes.
First of all, we get greeted by this sort of jazzy and mysterious cutscene music that is burned into my brain because it's pretty much the only theme I heard in this game. I mean, I heard the other ones, but a lot of them are reused from Advance, so it's like the one I associate with Pinball Party.
Yeah.
But this time, it isn't Eggman building a pinball fortress. He just decided, hey, everybody, I'm holding a competition at Casinopolis. Yeah, this is definitely not a trap. Come and play some pinball. It's so dramatic though, because there's this white text on a black screen that's like, peace has returned until Eggman decided to disrupt it. And then Sonic, the hero of justice, must rise again and take a stand against Dr. Eggman by playing pinball, of course.
As you do.
You know, as you do.
But before there's any dialogue between the characters, this is the bit where things fall apart a little bit. So a lot of the Sega characters show up on the pinball tables or on the screens of the arcade machine that is the menu. Also, I must say,
Mhm.
really stylized main menu. Like, I appreciate that. That's cool. They went all out with that.
Yeah.
They could have gone a lot simpler. And so, like, the fact that characters are on, like, games, whatever, and I guess the fictional worlds exist as a fictional world, maybe here, that doesn't bother me. The problem happens when, before, there's this tournament bracket that's built up between a bunch of Sonic characters, and then also people from Knights and Choo Choo Rocket, which means that those two universes do explicitly exist, which is insane. Some of these matchups are funny too. Somebody knew exactly what they were doing when Riala was paired with Shadow.
Yeah. Oh, there's another sign that this game can't be canon, is that Shadow is alive and he shouldn't be for a couple more games.
Well, who knows where this lives in the timeline, if it indeed lives in the timeline.
This lives in the middle of Shadow the Hedgehog. He took a break at one point to go play some pinball.
Most of the other pairings don't matter to me because I don't know who any of them are. But it is funny seeing that apparently Wise Man entered this tournament. Like, the God of Nightmares decided, I'm going to go play some pinball. Okay.
No, that's another reason it takes place in Shadow the Hedgehog, is because Wise Man is Black Doom.
Yeah, they have some similarities, I
Sorry,
suppose.
I'm getting ahead of myself. I've been having to play Shadow for note-taking, and it's getting into my brain. Anyway, yes.
But besides that revelation, then the game cuts to Knuckles and Sonic, of course, are the ones who started off, and they're fighting for no reason, as usual. But honestly, if it's just over pinball, fine. In a casual game, the two of them can butt heads. That makes sense. Honestly, I shouldn't complain about that here.
Yeah,
It's
Sonic and Knuckles being aggressive at things that don't matter instead of just clobbering each other, I like.
So the two of them kind of just start off and like, oh, well, we'll face each other, and very low stakes here. I mean, it's pinball all the time anyway. But so the first stage is pretty simple, I think. Probably not so simple if, well, you're terrible, like absolutely awful at pinball.
Oh, like I am.
But it's not a big ask, and I could actually beat this back in the day. So yeah, I mean, it is just pinball this time, which is both a positive and a negative. Compared to Spinball just threw all sorts of weird insanity like into the stages because
Yeah.
you're Sonic the Hedgehog in an actual place, so you can have all sorts of stupid gimmicks and garbage. Whereas this game shows quite a bit of restraint. There's still some fantastical elements, but doesn't like break the game in weird ways and make you have to traverse over massive maps collecting Chaos Emeralds. The goal is pretty straightforward. You get the points. Good job. That's how you do it. You have standard pinball controls, and you can tilt the machine as well, and that's it.
It's nice when those controls actually function, also.
Yeah, Bruce, you want to talk about that?
So I think I only played a total of about 15 minutes of this game, and that is because maybe it was just a problem with RetroArch for the PlayStation Vita. I don't think it was, though, because Sonic Advance 2 worked perfectly fine. I did not have the left trigger at all. I could not use my left bumper.
Paddle.
What? Paddle. Thank you, Jesus. I did not have a functional left paddle. I don't know why.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I can assure you that's not normal.
I think it wasn't.
Frankly,
Well,
the
that's no
actual
good.
controls are a little bit weird, where it has you press right on the D-pad for the left flipper and A for the other one, I think.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
literally pressed the button and they didn't work. So that's great.
Yeah, it's strange. I guess so you could have one control on either side of the GPA, but I don't know.
I guess it's
that's
just
not
so that
any
you can
better.
keep your thumbs in the same places, maybe?
At that point, why don't
Right.
you paddles the shoulder buttons and shake the table with A and B?
And
Maybe.
there's no button
yeah.
that does both of them, is it?
I don't.
I don't remember
think
the
so.
exact controls close enough.
Actually, I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it's a little
Yeah.
odd, but that aside, I think the devs were a little bit aware that probably a lot of people playing this wouldn't be pinball experts, because in this game, there's a ball saved mechanic where if you are just terrible, the game will just be like, no, you didn't lose the ball. Nah, you're good. And then it'll say ball saved,
Ball
which is a
saved.
sound effect ingrained in my mind because of how many times I lose the ball. But that is nice that it's somewhat lenient there. This also made me realize that all the crazy announcements from Spinball, that's just how pinball works. You'll see on the screen things like kickback bonus, or the announcer will say "yow" when you do something crazy.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, I should have realized when we played Spinball that that is like fairly common for pinball because I have played actual pinball tables before, and they do that.
yeah.
When I'll say, if there's anything that I do actually like about this game, I do like the tables. I think they're pretty good.
The tables look nice. I couldn't really get any level of how good they are based off of me
Yeah,
being kind of gimped.
I'm talking solely sights and sounds here.
Yeah, visually they look pretty nice. They look like tables based off of what they're based off of.
Well, and specifically the way that you activate them and can get different mechanics to activate. The Sonic table,
Yeah.
you can change which character is shown on the middle of it, and with a certain point bonus, you can even transform it so it goes from Neo Green Hill to Secret Plants and maybe others. I don't know. I didn't get that far, to be honest.
Yeah, I have notes on that later. But yes, this is definitely my favorite part of the game. It's just the design of the table. As I said, they literally just reused the music, so nothing new there. But it's cool to see familiar mechanics translated into pinball. Although there is some new music, I must say, it was an excellent choice using Supersonic Racing for the stage cleared music.
Yeah.
Uh, that's interesting. Cool to see a GBA rendition of that.
Well, that was honestly the thing that I remembered this game best for as a kid. Aside from the fact that the Tiny Chow Garden has better mini games than in Advance One, um, the thing that I liked best about this game as a kid was the GBA sound chip renditions of different songs because it has a bunch of Sonic songs, but it has like a GBA sound chip version of "Open Your Heart," and it has GBA versions of like a bunch of Knights songs.
It wasn't until I think the third stage, no, fourth stage, where I was just minding my own business playing pinball, and then suddenly my balls tripled, and then and then started playing Open Your Heart and turned gold. And I'm like, wow, I guess they just went super. That's how that works, I suppose. I don't know how any of the combos in this game work, but
You hit the
it
flipper.
was surprising. Yeah, hit the flipper. Yeah, yeah. It's honestly an insanely diverse soundtrack. They've got because they also this you won't see this in story mode, but they adapt every single night stage as well, and so there's a GBA rendition of all the Knights themes, which is crazy. But yeah, the soundtrack some of it's reused, but it's cool to hear the new renditions. Anyway, after you beat the first stage, there's a funny moment where Knuckles just says nothing, and then Sonic says, "You should think twice before you open your mouth again."
Get fuckled, Knuckles.
When you go to stage two, first I'll update Shadow beat Riala, so that's power scaling of pinball skill between those two. Riala just isn't cut for it. But Sonic is greeted by a brainwashed Tails. It's funny that I think this is the first time that Eggman has used mind control in the games, unless I'm forgetting an example.
No, I think you're right.
And it's
Yeah.
just to make Tails face Sonic in pinball. That's so like Eggman, just to use it for something completely ridiculous instead of much more effective. The way Tails talks when he's like this, it's hysterical. He comes out with, "You think you could beat Dr. Eggman? You're such a moron, Sonic."
You dipshit. I like the idea of Tails just aggressively negging Sonic. That's very fun.
But the second match just takes place on a later stage on the Sonic table. So you've got Casino Paradise with these really rad rainbow ramps. Probably my favorite of the Sonic table just because of how all the bright colors. It's very visually pleasing. But it's still just a score attack, so there's nothing really more to say there. After you win, Sonic is just like, "I wonder if this is all part of Eggman's scheme." Like, he doesn't know. He's still thinking about the possibilities.
Yeah.
It's hilarious that in the tournament called the Egg Comp Tournament, Sonic. It's a big mystery apparently.
Who could have
At the
done
next,
this?
yeah. At the next stage, update on the tournament bracket again. Wise Man faced Shadow, and Shadow the Hedgehog proved they were the ultimate life form and triumphed over Black Doom, I guess. That makes sense. But sadly, Knights lost to Metal Sonic. So that's interesting.
Oh no.
But a brainwashed Amy greets Sonic and says in a surprisingly menacing way, "This is the end of the road for you."
Oh, it's a preview of Sonic Heroes.
Yes.
Hmm.
So then you get to actually play one of the Knights tables that was mentioned, which I must say, if you look at the tutorial, there's a great bit of comedy from Omochao where it talks about how you have to collect the Idea, all 5 of them, and it's like you already start with one. So why do you have one? Just because you're the chosen one, obviously.
Well, that's
Okay.
in Knights. That's normal.
Well, but it's funny because it's like there's no point like to have 5. I except just the adaptive material. It's just comedic in my
Yeah.
opinion. But that said, it's actually surprising how much they tried to do the knights in the pinball because you have to duelize with knights first by going to the idea palace, and then you collect the ideas, and then you have to face one of the nightmare. Which, fun fact, every single nightmare is also featured in a pinball table, and and you can't get to it unless you just play the arcade mode.
Yeah,
So
you
it's
only
completely
get
bonus material, other than
the
the first one.
yeah, the was it a dragonfly? It's like a fish with like a fat chin, whatever that one
Gilwing,
is.
I think is his name.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. When you actually fight him, I was really impressed because first I just hit him and it was like, okay, great. But then one time the ball looped around him and it still did damage. And I'm like, see what you did there.
Paraloop, yeah, that's pretty good.
So that's pretty neat. Also, for some reason, instead they didn't do individual boss themes for every single nightmare. And well, okay, they already had a lot of music in this game, but the one boss theme they chose for all of them was Riala's, of course.
That theme is too good. Of course they would.
Yes. And after you win this table, then Amy reveals that it was Eggman behind everything, and Sonic is like, "Ha! Wow, what a revelation!"
We
Um,
are all completely blown away by this stunning revelation.
yes. So for the final match, first of all, once again, an update. Metal Sonic can beat the God of Nightmares at pinball. Good to know. And so Metal Sonic now faces you because you know what's going on. And fun fact, this is the first Sonic game to have Metal Sonic talk.
Yep. It's
Oh,
That's yet another reason that it's not canon, is because the first game where he talks is supposed to be Heroes.
Oh, that's the real problem here. None of that other stuff. Definitely.
It's one contradiction on the pile, and also I guess none of the crossover games are usually treated as canon. We're not going to
fair
treat
enough.
like All Stars Racing or Sega Superstars Tennis as canon. I don't
No,
think
that
I
one's
even
essential.
I don't think I even put that on the list to play, to be honest.
No, yeah, I hadn't thought of that. I guess because is this our first crossover game? I think it is. I
Yeah,
think.
but it's still like, it's still Sonic, whereas like Sega Superstars is considered its own little sub-franchise.
Fair.
Right, right. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So this is the first match that I never could beat as a kid. It is absolutely brutal. You have to beat every single Sonic table in a single go, and there's I think 7 of them because they adapt every single zone from Advance. So it's just a marathon of stages. It is cool that I was forced to go through all of them and see what all of them are because as a kid I had never seen all these stages. Disclaimer, by the way, I definitely did not play this legit. I definitely spammed save states. There's absolutely no way I could have gotten through this game without doing that. Which
I'm
I
amazed you did
don't
that much.
think is a knock against the game. Hard to say because I never tried to get good at pinball,
Fair
um,
enough.
but I didn't have the time to really try. Yeah, well, with states, it's pretty easy because to win any stage, you just have to beat up Eggman over and over, basically. And so if you can just reload to aim the right shot to hit him, then it's not too bad.
Right.
I do like that you can smack him around at all. That's pretty. That's not conventional for a pinball table to have a boss fight, but I like that.
Yeah, the boss
Yeah.
battles are definitely fun. But so I was able to see the zones I'd never seen, such as Angel Island Zone, which, first of all, it might be my least favorite adaptation, unfortunately, because it doesn't really capture the whole high in the sky feel. They just focused on like an indoor cave section, so it doesn't feel like Angel Island.
Mm.
But
Mm.
I was pleased to see that there is a little temple on the table, that if you activate it, then you see a hologram of Tikal.
Oh,
So that was a nice surprise.
So much effort put into paying respect to these things for an audience that is absolutely not going to be interested.
No, I never realized this game is pure fan service. It's nuts for a pinball game.
that is
Uh,
weird.
Although, fortunately, I couldn't get all the details right because you get to Egg Rocket Zone and it's playing Cosmic Angel Zone. Okay, Sure.
And
Great.
is there any independent Cosmic Angel table?
No, there isn't. So they just mixed them up for,
Maybe they just
I
went
guess,
with the
to be a
theme they liked better.
combination. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it is the better music theme, but uh, they chose the wrong table visual theme. Then Cosmic Angel would have been better visual theme too.
Yeah, that thing
Um,
already looks like a disco dance party.
yeah, yeah, it would have been perfect. The weird thing is, I was actually expecting Cosmic Angel Zone to follow Egg Rocket, but no. Then they made a pinball table based off the X Zone. What? That zone lasts for like 2 seconds. It's literally just a boss arena. They adapted it into a pinball table. They even had to make up like there's this weird spacecraft gimmick in the stage that never shows up in Sonic Advance. That's there.
Oh, fun
Uh,
fact! I saw this on the wiki the other day. That spacecraft is based off a prototype design for the egg carrier
Huh.
from like back when it was a Saturn game.
Off the wall fan service as usual. I don't know if that counts as fan service or a reference, even if no one would have known at the time. But
It feels like an accident. Like they're like, "Oh, where's the egg carrier concept? Oh, here it is," and they just didn't even consider that it was not
I
the
guess
normal
if it
one.
would have been the
Huh.
egg carrier, it would have been a reference then. So I guess it still kind of counts. Um, but yeah, it's interesting to see all that after you're playing for like an hour or however long that would take. You do make it through though, and then comes my favorite cutscene in the game because first Sonic just stands, gives his thumbs up. It's just his pose from Sonic Advance, and it says "winner" on the screen, and you're like, "Great, I won!" Because the other stage says "final match." But then suddenly the screen goes black, and then Sonic shows up, and he's just like, "What's going on?" And then a text box falls from the top of the screen, crashes into Sonic, knocks him away, and then Eggman says, "Ha ha ha! I am here. You really thought I would let you stop my plan?" I've never seen like fourth wall breaking humor done like that in a Sonic game before.
That is interesting.
What is his plan to mind control everybody? I guess.
He doesn't say. He's just like, "I will let you stop my most brilliant plan yet." And it's like, okay. I see it probably is mind control since he does that twice. But
Oh, so this is actually
despite,
this
yeah,
is an alternate ending to Sonic Colors. That's what it really is.
you're right. That's where it fits in the timeline.
Oh my god.
Despite having a story mode, it's very light on the explanations, which I mean, what did you expect, I guess?
Why do it then?
But well, I mean, I appreciate there being a story mode because it actually got me to play through the game. I would not have bothered otherwise.
Well, yeah, look at me and Bruce. We did not bother. The reason that you've been talking so much is because me and Bruce didn't even go past the first stage. I made
Well,
I made it to the night stage as a kid, and that was the furthest I ever got in this game.
Yeah, I don't blame you. The night stage is pretty hard because you have to basically do the whole goal 5 times or 4 times in a row. Honestly, it was kind of a drag. But yeah, I just knew this game had something to offer, and I was rewarded if nothing else by that final cutscene. It's just great. But because you have to face Eggman next, and then it's like a competition of who can get the highest score, and Eggman's score goes up at like a ridiculous rate. He must be cheating. That's obviously he's cheating, but it's funny.
I put 7 balls on the
Let's see.
table.
Yeah, it's a shame you can't see him actually playing pinball. That would be glorious. But eventually, you beat him, and then somehow that. Oh yeah, okay. So I forgot that it does explain at the beginning. I think that Eggman's like kidnapped a bunch of animals because at the end, Sonic walks out of the casino and there's a bunch of birds and stuff flying behind him. So I don't know why. Like, so Sonic looked at this problem. And he was like, "Oh, Eggman's kidnapped a bunch of animals and brought them to the casino. Oh, wait, there's a pinball tournament there. Well, I have 2 options. I could burst in there and start jumping around, breaking stuff like I always do when I've been that place before. I could enter the tournament." And he chose option B, of course. It's just funny because he could have accomplished the same thing with traditional methods. It never explains why pinball is necessary. It acts like this is just what Sonic does. I guess it really is just like an alternate universe where every time Sonic faces Eggman, he has to take him on in pinball. What a world. So
Well-
that's the main campaign. I did look a little at the side stuff. We already talked about the soundtrack. There's a Samba de Amigo table that isn't featured in the main game at all. It seems to be like a sort of a more hardcore table because it's all about just getting high ranks, and there's no ball save mechanic, and there aren't a whole lot of wacky gimmicks in it. So yeah, no interest in that really. I played a little, but I don't really know Samba de Amigo at all. So I mean, that's not really a huge surprise.
I
It's
think they
interesting that they had an extra table there at all, though.
didn't they just come
Mm.
out with a new one of those, or they're coming out with one soon? I think that's happening.
Yes, there's a Switch one that I think just came out that I was surprised existed because I haven't heard about Samba de Amigo since the Wii game like 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's not exactly the most popular franchise in the world, but
Mm,
So
good
just
for it.
weird,
Maybe it's
though.
good. I don't know. Maybe I'll play it one day. Who knows?
yeah.
Perhaps I am glad to have played Knights because it gave me more jokes here. But maybe I should look into that. Who knows? My favorite side table that isn't part of the story, though, is the Chow Casinopolis. So first of all, you're greeted by Cream and Cheese of all people. Why is Cream running a casino? Is she have as twisted a heart as we described her in Sonic Adventure?
Oh my gosh, I have no idea. Maybe
Huh.
she's, collaborating with Eggman.
Wouldn't put it past her, honestly.
I like that we're
Um,
saying these things and we haven't even played her debut game until next week.
she's we're talking about these out of order, I guess, and or out of release order because she's here.
Yeah,
Uh,
I forgot what order this game came out in.
whoops.
I thought it came
Oopsies.
out around Advance 1 because they were on the same cartridge for me, but nope.
Huh.
No, yeah, that makes sense. I would have made the same mistake probably. But the way this works is you get to play slots or roulette or bingo. But you can't place your bets unless you're good at pinball. Literally, you place your bets by hitting the holes on the side of the table, and if you fail to place your bets, the game just penalizes you, takes your money, and you don't even have a chance at winning. So it's like gambling except even more evil because you need to be good at the game to then have a chance at winning, but you can still just lose because it's chance based. This is like one of Eggman's most diabolical creations of all time, I swear.
What is this? 2015 Sonic Runners?
Oh no.
Oh boy.
Uh,
But you touched on it a little bit, but the best part of Sonic Pinball Party, of course, is the Tiny Chow Garden because it's still the Tiny Chow Garden in all its glory. And honestly, I wasn't complaining to have two Tiny Chow Gardens on my GBA cartridge. That's great, an opportunity to raise two different Chow. But as Devin alluded to, there is the absolute best Tiny Chow Garden mini game on here, Chow Ball. I'm not sure if that's the official name, but that's what the Sonic Wiki calls it. So it's a color matching game, sort of a light, like any other puzzle game you see. Nothing too complicated, but you get to throw spheres of red or green colors, and if enough of them are together, they disappear, and then they get bunched together again, and they can disappear again. So you can create crazy combos.
yeah, I played
Um,
the shit out of that.
it is a blast, and there are rings hidden among the colored spheres, which is the incentive for the game. And of course, the best part is you get to play as a Chow doing this, and it has all sorts of adorable little animations. It's the most precious thing when it collects the rings. It just looks overjoyed.
They
So
should have made that the game instead of pinball.
yeah, that would have been worth an entire cartridge. Just the tiny Chow Garden on a cartridge, nothing else. Sure. Honestly, I probably would have taken it if I had nothing else. Just like I played this game because I didn't have much else back in the day. But this is where I spent most of my time because I ain't collecting rings from pinball tables. I'll tell you that.
Yep.
But yeah, that's Pinball Party. That's pretty much everything it has to offer. They certainly put a lot into it, and if I liked pinball, I'd probably like this game.
Yeah. Man, you stole
Yeah.
the show here. I think
Honestly, yeah.
you went above and beyond. Me and Bruce did so
Really
little. I
did.
did not expect this from you. Good job, man.
Yeah,
You
Well,
good job. We needed someone who actually could talk about this game.
well, see, like I said, I remembered this game from days of old, and when you were like, "Oh, you could probably play the game for 5 minutes and get the idea," I'm like, "No, this game, there's more to it than that." And so it was a challenge at that point.
one can only hope that you'll show the same excessive force toward fucking secret rings or something. I don't know.
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
Well, You know, we've spent time between Sonic Adventure and this building up Cream the Rabbit as this criminal mastermind. But next time on Deep Dive Zone, we're gonna see exactly how accurate that is with Sonic Advance 2 still trapped on the Game Boy Advance. But for right now, that is gonna be it for tonight. Thank you all so much for watching this episode that I did not expect to go on as long as it did. Again, thanks, Lauren. If you like this episode, feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any questions, comments, criticism, or feedback, you can reach us at any of the places shown on screen. And with all that said, play something else than pinball. Please
Unless you
play
like
another
pinball.
game.
If you like
No.
pinball, this is probably pretty good, actually. I mean,
No, go play a better
not
pinball
exceptional,
game.
but
Go
if you
play
like
better.
Sega,
I guess you like Sega, sure, but if you like pinball, you're already playing better pinball games.
Well, we'll see you next week. Take care.